Good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming along today. Welcome to Sage World. My name's Sam Grace, and I'm here today to provide you with some insights on what PR is, how it could potentially benefit your business, to give you some top tips on making your story compelling for the media, and to also hopefully provide you with some insights and guidance on best practice. So if we have a look specifically at what we're going to cover today, we're going to take a look at what is PR, how PR works, understanding the media, and our top tips for telling a compelling story. So before we kick off, I'd like to just spend a little bit of time telling you a little bit about myself and about the company I work for. As sort of said, my name is Sam Grace, and that wannabe catalogue model, the picture of the person you see in the corner, is my good self. And I've worked in PR for 6 years now, worked for a variety of brands and helped develop strategies and implement programs that have helped build brand awareness in the media for companies including Sony, obviously Sage, and also IBM. But equally, during my 6 years in the industry, I've also been involved with launching startups to the media and helping build their brand awareness. And it's something I'm sort of very passionate about, is helping small businesses punch above their weight. For myself, one of the personal highlights of my career was generating this really strong bit of profile coverage for a new client of ours that was a startup company in the semantic web space. Got them this fantastic profile piece in The Guardian. And on the back of that, sort of 6 months down the line, it's still opening up doors for the company's CEO and leading to a lot of conversations for him in terms of sort of sales opportunities. Another sort of highlight of PR that I've done was creating a very sort of compelling and interesting campaign for the world's largest video search engine, which is a client of ours called Blinks. And what we did was took a very creative approach to building awareness of Blinks in the consumer space. And tying into the overarching theme of the credit crunch, we looked at how Blinks could help people get rid of their personal trainers and allow them to get rid of their gym membership by looking at online videos that trained them in terms of how they could exercise while still at their desk. The very creative story went down really well with the consumer lifestyle press and actually generated some really nice coverage across the board, including a really nice article in Weight Watchers magazine, which is quite a challenging publication to get into, so I was quite pleased about that in particular. In terms of Marlin PR, so Marlin is one of the UK's fastest growing PR agencies. We are one of the top 25 tech PR agencies in the UK, as recognised by PR Week, which is a fantastic achievement for a new and growing organisation. Marlin was set up in August 2008, and we specialise in the technology, media and entertainment sectors. We've got a fantastic array of clients, including Sage, Sony and Bang & Olufsen, but we also do a lot of work with challenger brands, so the likes of Blinks, who I'd mentioned previously, and also Ning, who provide social websites for companies that are looking to put social media at the heart of their website. Certainly worth checking out if you are looking to redesign your website. What differentiates Marlin is the fact that we bring the best of big agency thinking and strategic consultative approach and combine it with the hunger and energy that you'll typically find in a smaller dynamic agency. And it's that approach which allowed us to start working with Sage. And we've been working with the company for a number of years now. And during that time, we've helped Sage make new connections. We've taken them to new audiences. We've connected them with bloggers for the first time. And we've also really helped cement their position as the barometer for British business. One of the key things that we've done for Sage is help educate the media that as a company that works with 800,000 UK businesses, that Sage can offer some fantastic insights into the state of the economy and also into how UK business performance is going in general. And we've got it to the point where journalists are keen to come to us now when they're looking for insights and advice and guidance in terms of what the state of the play with the economy is. So you sort of see on the screens there that in terms of the kind of thought leadership pieces that we've developed for Sage, we've been able to develop a program that's allowed them to comment alongside the likes of George Osborne and also the likes of Mervyn King whenever there's a major industry issue such as the budget. And it's that kind of level of thought leadership which really helps bring credibility to the brand and underlines its position as this thought leader within the industry. So I'd like to spend a bit of time, that's enough about us, so I'd like to spend a bit of time talking a little bit about you. So if we could do the classic show of hands, please. How many of you have actually appeared within a paper or a magazine? Okay, brilliant. And how many of you have appeared in a paper or magazine not as a result of too many vinos on a night out before? Yeah, okay, good. And how many of you have actually got your business in the paper or magazine? So, okay, brilliant. So good show of hands. Okay. And in terms of using social media, do you have Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and LinkedIn for your business? Brilliant, okay, good. So we're full of room of savvy entrepreneurs, which is fantastic. Okay. So what is PR? I think it's really useful if we try and actually define it before we go into sort of any depths about best practice, etc. When I signed up, I thought it was going to be a life of champagne and golf. Unfortunately, that's not the case. And similarly, the way the media portrays PR means it's a very emotive occupation for a lot of people. You say PR, and instantly people have images of Ab Fab or Malcolm Tucker tearing off strips of people in the corridors of power. But again, that's perhaps not quite the case. There are so many different definitions out there for what PR is that we could spend the whole day talking about it. But one sort of anecdotal quote that I like about PR specifically, which I'll share with you today, is from an American social historian, Daniel Boorstin. He says, some people are born great, some achieve greatness, and some hire public relations officers. Obviously, I would be keen to sort of support what he says there, but perhaps a more workable definition for the purpose of today is that PR is a formalised process for generating interest amongst different audiences using dialogue, so in terms of conversations, editorial and events, rather than monologue, which is your traditional advertising or direct mail, to engage individuals and groups with the objective of changing perceptions, understanding, and behaviours. And if we break that definition down slightly, there's several key elements within that. And I think the formalised process is really quite a central component to PR. It's about adopting a more strategic and considered approach. The different audiences, again, in order to actually get cut through with the media, what you have to think about, who is it you want to reach, what is it that they're going to be reading, and what are the messages that are going to resonate with that media to reach that audience. And similarly, the objective of changing perceptions, understanding, and behaviours is absolutely sort of fundamental to what PR is looking to achieve. And it's vital that you set out what your clear objectives are before you begin a campaign. So in terms of influencing the agenda, PR is a fantastic tool for shaping the opinions and actions of influencers in the media and online. PR is also really great for using the media as a vehicle to deliver key messages to target audiences. And at its core, that is a central component of public relations. But it's also, by working with the media and using the media, it's about building that credibility and elevating your brand. It's one thing for you to go out and sort of talk about how fantastic a particular product or service is. But if you actually have a journalist endorsing your new product or service, then it is so much more valuable and credible. And that's the kind of fundamental principle of why you should be looking to do PR. But a really important element of public relations as a whole is also the fact that it's no longer just about the media. PR has evolved so much in the past few years alone that you've got to consider all the different channels. You've got to consider all the different audiences that you're wanting to reach and then identify which channel is best for reaching those people. So in terms of what PR is not, well, here the presentation was all about PR shining a light on the dark art. Well, it's not a dark art. And contrary to what many of my peers might tell you, PR is actually not rocket science either. What it is, though, it's about taking a different approach to the way that you communicate with your audiences and it's about developing and engaging content in order to get your messages across to your audiences. As we sort of touched upon on the last slide, PR cannot be limited to just one medium alone. You've got to think about all the different channels. Social media has just fundamentally changed the way people engage with audiences. And with two-way communication being at the core of public relations, social media has become such a key part of that going forward. And it's important to sort of recognise that PR is not an isolated entity. You cannot have one public relations campaign putting out a message in one area, but then your advertising or your other communications or even your brand behaviours totally undermining that. If you pull in the different directions, then your messages within PR are not going to resonate or get cut through with the media. So why do you do PR? Well, PR fundamentally can help organisations build a strong platform for proven reputation and expertise. What we'd love to do with sort of Sage and our other clients is show the value that the organisation can bring to a journalist story. And so a key part of that is proving the expertise and the insights that you've got. You've got to remember that when you're speaking with journalists, they are not an expert generally in a particular area. Often they'll find they have to cover a whole range of topics, whereas you as a spokesperson for your business understand in a lot more depth than the journalist ever could about the areas and the issues in your particular sector. And what they're looking for is for you to bring those to life for the media. PR is also, good PR is also absolutely about communicating and educating journalists about what your particular strategy is. Why is it you've gone into a particular market? What is your thinking behind launching a new product? What's the opportunity there? And educating the media is absolutely key to good PR. And in terms of how PR can sort of help further, again, it's that reaching that specific audience, knowing who you want to go for. But similarly, at the same time, PR is very good for achieving mass communications as well. So, for example, if you had a new product that you were wanting to reach widespread consumer market, then if you can tailor your story so that it would fit with the likes of the editorial agenda for something like the Daily Mail, you're able to reach a circulation of more than 2 million people through that. And similarly, if you can get your story on BBC Breakfast, then you're able to achieve that widespread awareness that you're looking to do. And PR is a very effective tool for doing that. It's just considering what medium is most appropriate. As we touched upon earlier, PR, again, can really enhance the credibility. If you got your spokesperson talking about a particular topic on something like the Radio 4 Today programme, then that is an absolutely fantastic way of showing your particular expertise in an area. And it's those kind of sort of opportunities that can really help cement your, the expertise of your business and help generate leads for your company in that area. Good PR is also a fantastic way of building search engine optimization into your company strategy and also improving your natural search page rankings. News, by its very nature, is constantly evolving and updating. And so if you can get a good link within a story article into a new story, it will naturally appear much higher within the natural search engine rankings than a traditional sort of website. So in terms of SEO, PR is a really key part of that. But whoever said there is no such thing as bad PR, well, I would love to have the opportunity to lock them in a room with Martin Johnson, the manager of the England team, to discuss that concept at the moment, because I think he might have something to disagree with them. And if you look at how negative PR can damage a business, it can do so in a variety of ways. So damaging reputations is obviously a key one. And if you think how the England rugby team have been portrayed in the media, not just down to their performances over the past few weeks, but it's going to make sponsors think twice about getting involved with them after incidents such as the night out or the ferry incident. PR can also, if it's not managed well, have a huge impact upon the relationships of an organisation. Think about what happened with the News of the World earlier in the year. It's a great example of when advertisers are concerned about associations with a particular sort of brand or company, then they will leave that organisation. And it can also affect the brand. Do you remember Tony Hayward, the BP chief executive, who was pictured sailing in the crystal clear waters of the Isle of Wight, whilst at the same time the BP oil leak in the Gulf of Mexico was having disastrous consequences on the Gulf of Mexico? Sort of examples like that really underline the kind of impact that bad PR can have on an organisation. It's estimated that the incident of Tony doing that and also the wider kind of oil impact wiped £2 billion off BP's, the value of BP's brand. So it's just really important to consider how your behaviour should align. Bad PR can also make you a Twitter sensation. As we're in Manchester, I gave a little bit of a nod to Ryan Giggs, but if you'll remember the story that did the rounds about the player that had taken out the super injunction for having an affair, everybody on Twitter was able to speak about it, but the media weren't able to report about it. But it had a negative impact upon Mr. Giggs, but also Manchester United as a whole. And there are other examples in business. I don't know if you saw the one about Urban Outfitters. An independent jewellery designer had come into Urban Outfitters to pitch a new range of jewellery that they had created. And the company turned the jewellery designer away, sort of said, oh, thanks, but no, thank you. And then a couple of weeks later, produced its own range that were in a very similar style. As a result, there was a huge sort of backlash, understandably so, on Twitter, led by this designer whose designs had, in effect, been taken by the company. And if you're looking for a topical example, I don't know if you saw in the news yesterday, but actually a journalist for the Daily Telegraph has become a story themselves, writing about the way that the Libyan government is due to approach relationships with the Western government. He submitted his article to his editors, and the editors, as is their prerogative, had changed the focus of the article, and he felt had compromised his editorial integrity. So he put a tweet out, basically having a rant at the editorial team of the Telegraph. Unfortunately for him, the Telegraph have it set up so that whenever a journalist does make a tweet or anything, it automatically gets syndicated onto their website. As a result, more than 2 million people saw his rant, and he has now become the subject of the story themselves. So what are the elements that actually make up PR? Well, obviously there's news, and when we're talking about news, it's the things that you do and the things that you say. And when we're looking at the things that you do, it could be the launching of a new product, a new service. It could be the opening of a new office in a particular area, or it might be more of an initiative that your company is undertaking. So, for example, if you are working with a local charity and raising funds for that, that's going to be of interest to a journalist. It's new, it's compelling. But it's also the things you say. So, for example, if you are wanting to raise awareness of your expertise on a particular area or an issue, you could potentially contact a journalist and, when you spot that legislation is coming in that you know is going to impact other firms, and sort of highlight how that legislation is going to impact firms and what they should be doing in order to try and navigate those changes. Providing that kind of advice and consultancy, media really sort of value that input. Another sort of cornerstone of the PR portfolio or toolkit, if you will, is features. Features are obviously longer, in-depth articles within a magazine that focus on a particular area. A lot of these features are planned well in advance, so there's a great opportunity to speak to editors, understand what their calendar they're planning, and then liaising with them about what insights and value you could potentially bring to that feature story. So looking at jewellery designers, again, you would know, for example, that a lot of the lifestyle press are going to be due to be looking at what are the top gifts you should be getting your husband or wife for Christmas. So there's a great opportunity there for you to try and promote your particular goods to the likes of GQ or Cosmopolitan. And understanding that there is this editorial feature calendar agenda, you're able to sort of tap into that and hopefully raise more awareness about your business and services. And then finally, the other kind of element to PR is also commentary and opinion. You'll notice that a lot of different sort of magazines, publications, and online websites are crying out for specialist commentary and opinion sections. So if there's a particular issue that's sort of a burning issue for yourself or for your customers, then often there's a great opportunity for you to explore that issue within the media through putting together an element, sort of a best practice guide, if you will, and raising that issue in the mind of the media and sort of showing them what it is, educating how they can potentially navigate that issue, and sort of raise awareness of your brand that way. So who does PR reach? Well, PR actually pretty much reaches anyone that's important and can influence your business. So whether it's analysts, the likes of Gartner, or whether it's e-marketer, industry influencers, so it could be political commentators, it could be your local chamber of commerce, journalists, bloggers, your peers, customers, prospects, consumers, employees. And it's really important whenever you're about to sort of begin a PR campaign to think who you want to reach, who is your target audience, and then to make sure that you are able to tailor your communications to make it interesting for that particular audience and that you select the right channels to reach them. So, a recipe for success and what makes effective PR. There's a holy trinity of elements that make an effective PR campaign. They are content, packaging, and timing. If you're looking at content, that's about having all the ingredients and the elements that make up a good story for a journalist and giving it to them on a plate. So yes, it will be a press release. Yes, it will be having a spokesperson available, and it potentially could be providing them with pictures that would be really useful as well. In terms of timing, that's absolute key. Understanding how the media works will allow you to know when it's best to approach them in terms of their overall editorial agenda, and also when you're most likely to get a result. What's really important for developing effective PR is to keep in mind that your story has got to interest people. The amount of people that we actually speak with who've been working very hard on a particular sort of technology or widget and believe that it is the absolute best thing since sliced bread. And it is for them, that, you know, it's fantastic. They've really put their heart and soul into it. But what you've got to do if you want to get cut through in the media is to take your step back and to sort of think about what makes it interesting for someone else. Why would the person on the street care about this? And so an acid test, if you're wanting to get a consumer story into the media, is to almost think about what is the water cooler moment of this story? You know, is it something that people would have a conversation about or would be prepared to talk about around the water cooler? For a business story, absolute key thing at the moment is being able to tie the benefits that your sort of service or product is offering is into return on investment, into efficiencies. What media really care about is the whole economic argument. Economy, understandably so, is such a driver of the media agenda at the moment. If you can make a compelling proof point that shows how your particular products or services are benefiting your users, then you're much more likely to get cut through and pick up. What you also need for effective public relations campaign is committed and articulate spokespeople. So obviously you've got the company spokespeople who would be fantastic to sort of have on board to tell the story, but you've also got to think about what third-party commentators you can bring in. Customers are fantastic for this, and there is no greater endorsement than when a customer is prepared to put their head above the media parapet and say how great your particular product or service is. Again, it's one thing for you to say it, but if a business themselves and a user of your service is prepared to do that, then that's a fantastic endorsement. But there's also other third-party spokespeople you can turn to. So, for example, right at this moment, just down the road, we are at a colleague of mine is in a radio studio launching a bit of research that looks at customer experience and customer service. And what we've got as part of the package we've developed for the story is a spokesperson who was the former psychologist on Big Brother, who's going to be there talking about the psychology of consumer expectations when it comes to making a purchase and the whole experiences of customer service. And it's that sort of level of insight that really helps elevate a story and makes it more interesting for the press to cover. Obviously, you would need possibly some PR professionals with some excellent verbal and written communication skills. But a key kind of part of what you need is the context, the timing, and the persistence. Context is, again, coming down to knowing who your story is right for. You've got to be able to package it up so that it's interesting enough for them to write and compelling enough that they want to write it. And the key is to think who is the audience that they are writing for and making sure that the content is right for those guys. So looking at the art of storytelling a bit more specifically, what I'd like to do now is just sort of share with you a few insights to help you understand a little bit more about the actual pressures that journalists are working under. So you've got to remember that when you're speaking with a journalist, their top priority is not your business, it's about the story. And what you've got to do is think about, okay, I've got these certain messages that I want to get across, but how can I package them up into a story that's relevant for this journalist and for their audience? It's important to recognise that there's really tough competition for news as well. I was speaking to Nick Fards, who's a business correspondent for The Times earlier this week, and he was sort of telling me that he gets more than 500 emails a day from different companies and various PR people looking to get coverage for their clients. So you've got to really get a powerful, strong story that's totally relevant for their audience in order to get cut through against such tough competition. Excuse me. It's also important to recognise that the journalists themselves are under a huge amount of pressure. I don't know if you've sort of seen, but there's been a great number of publications that have moved from print and online to online only in the past couple of years as a result of sort of declining advertising revenues. Journalists that work in online media specifically often have a set number of stories that they need to produce each day. So they're working under extremely tight deadlines. And so it's about thinking, how can you package up the story so that you give absolutely everything to them that they need and make it as easy as possible for them to turn around and write as quickly as possible. And it's also important to consider that journalists are having to liaise with their editors in order to sort of get their stories and content through. So it's not just that initial pitch that you've got to make. You've got to help the journalist sell their story to their editors in order for it to get coverage. And it's really important that you consider how you can best help arm them to make that sell. And finally, media also really value exclusivity. Considering that there is this great competition for news in amongst different publications, if there is one key audience that you really want to reach, then a good route to securing coverage in that title is to think, what I'd like to do is offer it to that particular publication as an exclusive in the first instance, and then make your story more widely available. Journalists react well to that, as it gives them a little bit of an edge over the competition and also sort of shows that they've got their finger on the pulse more. So what the media want? They want news. They want stories that are new. They want compelling insights. They want quirky stories. As we sort of said earlier, media they're not in an ivory tower, but they are slightly removed from what's going on in the world. So what they're looking for is for you to shed colour and insights on what's happening on a day-to-day level. They're really keen to understand the conversations you're having with your customers about how your business is performing. And it's these sort of insights that they can use to really bring to life the stories that they're looking for. And as we sort of said earlier, expertise is such a key role of what the journalists are looking for when they're speaking with you. You are this recognised expert in a particular industry. And so it's tapping into your knowledge and insights that the journalist is looking for their particular articles. Statistics and proof points is a fantastic way to show that you really know your industry and also to back up your points. It's one thing to make a claim, but if you've got sort of statistics and insights to back up the points that you're making, then it's going to resonate so much better with the media that you're speaking with. And again, access to compelling spokespeople. If you can build the relationship with the journalist to the point where they understand that this is an area you know so well, and that if ever they've got any questions in related issues to this area, then you'll find that's such a good way of building a platform for future coverage. You'll find that the journalist, when they come to write on that area again, is going to come to you because you've been able to bring to life quite a complex subject for them. You've been able to distill down what's potentially quite technical into everyday language. And that's a great way of building a platform for future opportunities. The challenge for the media is that what they often get is announcements that have been slightly recut. Maybe it's already been issued in the US, and so there is no intrinsically new news value in it. They also, a lot of the time, get background information statements or sort of strategy, and that's not really useful or compelling from a media point of view. It's good to inform the discussion and the debate, but in terms of actually writing an article, it's not going to help give them a news hook or an angle to write about. Other things to avoid are highly technical releases. Now, it's challenging if you're in a highly technical industry, but again, what you're looking to do is to make the information as accessible as possible to the journalists and their readers. So try and avoid marketing speak and try and avoid using abbreviations and acronyms. Issues that only affect small businesses, small groups of people may be important, but you've got to think, if I want to speak to the Times about a particular story, for example, how can I make it an issue that affects more people? If BlackBerry's outage this week had only affected 10 users, wouldn't be a story. But the fact that because it sort of wipes out their network over much of Europe and affected a lot of people, that's what made it a story. When speaking with press, something that a lot of people sort of forget, but is absolutely fundamental if you're doing an interview, is to remember that it's all about selling. You wouldn't buy from someone if they were describing something unenthusiastically, if they weren't able to differentiate it, if it looked exactly the sort of same as something else out there. So when you're speaking with press, think about what is it that would really help make this journalist believe that what you're doing is very interesting, very new, and will encourage them to write about it. You wouldn't buy from someone that sort of couldn't be articulate or couldn't sort of explain how this particular product is different. And so just be prepared to really excite the journalist when you're speaking with them in order to get them to write. So if we're looking at top tips for communicating, then I would say one of the best approaches you could do before ever sort of speaking to a journalist would be to take a step back and to think in sound bites. Sound bites are a fantastic way of ensuring that you get your messages across to the media, but in a clear and concise way, and it sort of makes sure that the key points of whatever you're looking to communicate don't get left on the cutting room floor of the production studio. So, for example, you think about, I feel the hand of history on my shoulder, or this lady's not for turning. These are great examples of where you can get your message across in a real clear and concise way. Anecdotes are just as important to bring to life your positioning as well and to reinforce what you're saying. We've got a client who is brilliant at using a particular anecdote to show how close he is to his customers. He's the CEO of a company, and what he says is that he speaks to a customer every day. Now, you, as a journalist, that's something you're going to hear lots of times, but what he does to bring it to life and sort of show that it actually is something that he does and is close to his heart, he sort of says, each morning when he gets up, he'll go downstairs, he'll speak to his daughters, and he will pull out the Scrabble board with the bag of letters in, and he'll get them to pull a letter out of the bag, and he'll use that letter to talk about different words and help educate his daughters. But then he'll make the promise to them that he will go away and call a customer beginning with that letter that day and sort of speak to them about how everything's going, what are the issues they're facing, etc. And by telling that sort of story to the press and giving that level of detail, you actually see the journalist sort of sit back and say, okay, actually, this is something the guy does. He's not just sort of saying it. So bring those anecdotes into your conversations in order to get your messages across. Another important thing to remember is to be visionary, be assertive. You are an expert in your particular area or field, and so don't be afraid to sort of say what you see, what you feel. As we've sort of talked about before, journalists have come to you for your particular viewpoint, so make your point clear and be assertive. Personality is a really important thing to try and get across as well. Journalists don't want company clones rolled out for interviews. They want someone that's engaging. They want someone that's going to excite them. They want to be able to convey those insights and interests across to their readers. And it's really important as well to remember that how you behave needs to be the same, whether it's online, on the telephone, or in person, as all of them add up to give the perception of the brand. And if you've got differences within that, it's going to undermine how you are portrayed. I'd say the final sort of key thing to remember as well is there is no such thing as off the record, no matter what you sort of hear. And the kind of the golden rule that we always sort of tell our spokespeople is, if you don't want to see it in print, then don't say it. And I think if you live by those rules, then you won't come a cropper. So thank you very much for your time this morning. I appreciate we are close to running out of time, but I did want to check whether anyone has any questions at all before we do. Yep. Oh, sorry, just behind you in the first instance.
Do you ever recommend using the type of online PR companies who will do a massive blast for you?
It depends what you want to achieve. If it's purely an exercise for SEO and sort of natural search, then having that sort of level of awareness and links coming back to your site can be really useful. But if it's actual quality coverage that you want to achieve, and really at its core that's what PR should be about, it's about reaching the right people, then no, because the way that you've got to engage with media today is to tailor the story specifically for them. What we do is actually sort of look at each publication individually and say, what's the angle that's going to resonate for them? Really get to know and understand what the journalist is looking for. Because if you can sort of go to them and show that you've actually read what they've covered before, and sort of say, hey, I saw you'd covered this, and so I thought this particular angle would be of interest for you, then you are so much more likely to get more results.
I've got two desires in life at the moment.
Okay.
Cash rich, time rich.
Yep.
I'd love to have both. I've got neither at the moment. How much time and how much money do you normally have to put into PR?
Interesting. Well, it obviously does require a certain level of investment. If you want to work with an agency, then generally it would cost you sort of at least a couple of £1,000s a month for a steady sort of program. But I think there are elements which, if you've got the time, you can all do yourselves in order to promote your own business. And in the first instance, it might be a case that you're able to do just as good a job as if you brought in a PR agency. And I appreciate that time poor means that you don't have much sort of headspace to attribute to that. But if you almost sort of mapped out what your strategic priorities were, who you wanted to reach specifically, and then looked to go about how you reach that audience, what media or what social media channels you need to get to them, and spend a little bit of time developing a plan to do that, then you'll find that a lot more rewarding. So it's about sort of focus of efforts. What we always sort of say is, it's about, if you think strategically about who you want to reach, then you can hit 80% of the people for almost 20% of the effort. But it's having the time to lift yourself up from the detail to think strategically about that. But I mean, I'm about all day and sort of love to chat a little bit further if you'd like to bounce around a couple of ideas for what you're looking to do. Okay. So anyone else? Gentleman at the back.
If you're a small to medium-sized company and you want to do it yourself, is there any tips for any essential lists of key people that you could communicate with? So for instance, if you're operating in the Northwest and you want to get your message out to a lot of companies in the Northwest, is there a list of editors, key people that you could recommend that people perhaps here could use?
So, the simple answer is yes, but not, there's not a kind of predefined list that's publicly available. But what you'd want to do is target the media that are most relevant for that particular area. So, for example, if you're wanting to reach business people in the area, then obviously speaking to the likes of Kevin Feddy, who's the business editor at Manchester Evening News, would be a fantastic way to go. There's also the Business Insider series, which are really good for targeting B2B communities within set geographies of the area. One thing that a lot of people don't realise as well is that a lot of the national correspondents have got regional, a lot of the national publications have got regional correspondents. So if you speak to someone like Andy Bounds at the FT, if you've got a really quirky or kind of a compelling story about your business, how it's performing, then that will give you an opportunity to reach the national sort of media as well, but focusing on your particular region. Sorry, gentleman over there. We should have just done this Q&A, I think, rather than giving the presentation.
We use Twitter to engage a lot with reporters to get the right person to speak at their respective publication. And it's a good way in for us because we've been in local papers quite a lot recently. Okay. How do I gear that up to sort of more national coverage? Because obviously national reporters have much more followers and it's difficult to break through the
Absolutely.
mass.
Yeah, so we talked about the kind of challenge that the national journalists are under. Can I ask a little bit about what your business does sort of specifically?
We're an army surface seller.
Okay, interesting. And in terms of sort of stories and trends that you could potentially tap into, I mean, one thing that jumps to me is, I guess, have you sort of seen sales go up over the in line with how the economy's performing as a whole?
Yeah, sales have gone up, but we've started to do events since the summer, so we're doing sort of extreme geocaching endurance events as well, and that's what the media's coverage is about.
Yeah, fantastic.
It seems to be grabbing the imagination.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the geocaching side of things, I geocache myself, so it's something that sounds quite appealing to me. Yes, there would be, because it's quite a different approach to things, it is an interesting story that I think would resonate with national media. What potentially you should look to try and do is spend a bit of time flicking through a paper, looking at who kind of covers a relevant area. The way I think you might want to approach this would be to target possibly a features writer and get them to come along and actually take part in one of the geocaching events you do and get them to write it up about it, because I think that would be a great way of getting your brand out there and having a more in-depth piece about what you're doing specifically.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Any more? No? Okay. Well, thank you ever so much for your time this morning. Really appreciate it. I hope you'll agree that Sage World's got some fantastic lineup of speakers coming through throughout the day. As I sort of said earlier, I'm going to be about for the rest of the day, so if you do have any further questions, then by all means, please do come grab me. I'm likely to be lurking near the coffee area, and please do have a chat. Thank you.